of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's a bright, sunny, beautiful afternoon. The perfect weather if you're an antelope looking to get some food. This is Safari Live. Ready. Standing by.
You are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Safari Live Sunset Safaris on this beautiful, beautiful winter's day. It's a very warm 28 degrees and it is perfect weather to be on the largest safari vehicle in the world. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and we are going to try and see if we can't find something epic, because Sebastian has just come back from leave and he's been struggling with the sightings a little bit, so I've promised him that I'll find him something very good to film, and well, we want to show you guys lots of exciting and amazing things. Now, talking about all of you, you are the most important part of the show, so remember, this is interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we'll try and answer as many questions as possible and get through as much as we can this afternoon, and hopefully it's going to be a busy one. Now, I know Ali is going to be looking for Tundi and Tumba from this morning, but I might give her a hand with Tundi, because we know Tundi left Tumba behind and went off on a hunting spree, so I might go check around at some of the water holes and see if Tundi's not separated still from Tumba and find her lying on her own. So we're just going to head now down towards Treehouse Dam, but before we got there we had these Waterbuck that just was lounging in the shade and taking it very easy, and I would imagine these guys are going to start heading down towards the same dam that we are going to. They look like they're heading down to Treehouse Dam, and as the name suggests, Waterbuck sort of dictates that they spend more of their time around water than anywhere else. In fact, Waterbuck are very seldom found more than 3 miles away from water. They like to use water as a safety point, and so when predators come, they'll run towards water and to try and then sort of hide in the water and use the water to their advantage. Now, that's why they've got such a long fuzzy coat in comparison to all of our other antelope out here that have very fine thin coats. It's very warm in Africa, and you'd think this thick shaggy coat doesn't really work very well at all. But when these guys go into water, water can either be cold or it gets onto the skin and it can cause irritations on the skin. And so that long fur gets covered in an oil from their sebaceous glands in their skin, and that oil repels water, and it means that the longer fur actually keeps this animal dry and very comfortable and warm even when it's in or around water. So it's a very clever system that they've got. Now, you might be thinking it looks ridiculous that it's got a big white ring on its backside. It almost looks as though it's going to be targeted by that and it'll be easy to see. And well, that's the exact point of that ring. That ring is there to be seen. It's basically to show one another, this is where I am and this is a safe path that you can walk. Because remember, if the one in front of you is being chased by lions, you can then move in a different direction. But if you see the one in front of you walking clearly, then you know that that's a safe route to take, and you can then follow behind. Well, our Waterbuck are starting to depart and starting to leave the scene, so we're going to just putter down towards Treehouse Dam and see what else is lurking down there. It is a beautiful afternoon, and so it should be perfect for animals to come down for an afternoon drink. I'm really hoping that we get to see some elephants this afternoon. We've had a bit of a sort of elephant drought. They've been around, but not in the numbers that we often do have, and so I'm hoping we're going to get nice big herds coming through, and that we'll be able to spend some quality time with a nice big group of elephants as well, because I need my elephant fix. It's been a while since I've had that. We've been fortunate enough to have massive amounts of cats the last 2-3 drives, which is fantastic, but I would also like to see our big large grey friends. Now, earlier I said I was going to try and see if I can't give Ali a hand trying to find Tundi. She's going to go try and see if she can't find where we left Tumba, so let's go across to her so she can say hello and tell us how she's doing.
Well, hello everyone. This is the last position where beautiful Tumba was in, but as you can see, there is no leopard on top of that termite mound, so my search for Tandy and Tamba begins again this afternoon. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today I've got Ferg, and we are very happy to start looking for this leopard. It is a bit of an easier area than where they were yesterday, so fingers crossed we'll manage to do that. And well, as you all know, it's quite an interactive show, so we love hearing from you guys. So if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to send them through. Now, having said that, today we've got the VB Digital Learning Center Summit, or Summer Summit, sorry. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me, joining us for the school drive. So welcome, guys. Happy to have you guys on board. And also today is a very special day of the Animal Rights Awareness Week, because today's animal is the rhino. So hopefully the guys in the Mara will be able to find a rhino for the day. If not, I'm sure they'll be able to do a stunning job at the end of the week. And who knows, if you've got any questions about my favorite animal, please also do send them through, because I think these two leopards might just not be that friendly today. But let's see, I have faith. I see there's a antelope not too far, roughly looking into the distance, so I wonder if Tandy and Tamba are not actually looking at us from somewhere else and they're hiding away, which wouldn't surprise me, because I'm sure yesterday they were just laughing at me and being like, ha, there she goes again. Beautiful Nyala bull. So let's see if maybe the Nyala has pointed us in the right direction, and we'll go a bit onto the bush just to see if perhaps they have moved not too far. There is a very good chance. So Tamba, in case you were wondering, is a young leopard cub, so he's still with the mother. But the mother left him earlier on, just on this termite mound, and she carried on moving. So it could be that she was either taking him to a kill, or she left him and then she went hunting, and then she's come back to get it, and then they've both moved off somewhere else. So let's see. Let's see if perhaps the Nyala, who's quite quiet and enjoying a bit of a breeze in this hot day, has pointed us in the right direction. Hopefully that'll be the case. There seem to be quite a few termite mounds around here, so I don't know, it seems like Tamba has some sort of a knack for being very regal and posing on top of termite mounds and just gazing down upon the world. Whew. Sorry, I've got to go very slowly around here because there are lots of logs and branches and twigs and things that are on. We already had one broken vehicle. I think maybe we'll just keep that for the day, instead of having more than one breaking down. Yeah, it's getting a bit thick here. And in case you are wondering, the leopards are probably one of the hardest animals to find out here in the bush, because they are relatively small, maybe the size of a big dog. I'm not going to be able to go through here. I think maybe around the other way. Yeah, and they have excellent camouflage, so all those spots that we see that they have got in their skin or in their beautiful fur actually allows them to hide so well in all of this winter colored grass, where everything's a lot drier now. This might be tricky. Come, Winnie. Come, team girl. We can do this. Woo. I think it's probably easier trying to go around than trying to go through all these bushes, because it's a bit too thick and I don't want to do anything unnecessary. Jenny, you're wondering how long can leopards go without food? Well, it can be a couple of days. Normally so the mother can leave the little ones up to, I've seen it for about 4 days or so, where she's left 5-month-old cubs on their own while she was trying to hunt and get some food, because she didn't manage to bring anything down earlier on. And then obviously when she got back, the cubs were starving. They were super hungry. So I think maybe a few days it's a good average for them. I would say 1 to maybe 4 at most. That termite mound looked very much like a leopard's head. Alright, so I think maybe I'm gonna try and turn again. There is a nice torchwood tree. So the tricky thing here is that leopards can be on the ground, but they can also be on top of the trees. And if I were a leopard today, I would be on top of a tree, because it is very hot. and there's a bit more of a breeze if you're on top of the tree. Now there is quite a big termite mound around here, so I want to go see if perhaps Tamba hasn't decided to move all the way there. Yeah, you see, well, you've seen him. To me, he's still a ghost. Every time I've tried to come close. But I suppose I've been so lucky with the cats that there's always got to be that one that that makes you work really hard for it. Alright, we're going very slowly around here just because there are so many things in our way. And we're also scanning the area looking for leopards, not on top of this marula tree. I don't think they're going to be on top of that termite mound either. Not around here. Mr. Nyala was not pointing us in the right direction, I'm afraid. The good thing is, though, that there are other guides that are also out and about, and there are roads not too far from where I am, so we don't always drive around in the middle of the bush. So if they manage to see any tracks for a leopard crossing the road that could indicate in which direction they've gone off to, then they'll let us know and they'll move into, and we'll start looking around for the animals over there. Let's see. I think I want to try maybe that area over there, just as a last attempt to see if perhaps they went somewhere entirely different. Because if she came to fetch it, they could have moved quite a distance. Seems like Tristan is being a great friend, and he's going to help me find Tandy and Tamba. I'm sure he'll find them before me. So let's go over to him and see if perhaps he's got any tracks that he can share with us.
Well, Ali, I'm afraid I've ditched you and let you do your mission on your own, because I got a report that Shadow's little cub is here on this termite mound in front of us, so I'm trying to see if we can't find it quickly, because we know that that little cub sometimes can be a bit shy and can move around quite a bit. So just coming to check around for Shadow's little cub, because I haven't seen it in quite a while, and if we don't come right here, then we'll go back to Ali. So don't tell her, just keep quiet. We don't want to get in trouble. She'll probably shout at me for just abandoning her, but I'm sure she'll come right there. Between her and Ferg, they'll get the luck that they need to be able to find what they're looking for. Now I'm just trying not to drive over any big stubs. Let's see now. Come on, little cub, where are you? I would imagine that it would have been very hot for this little cub to be out on the termite mound and just sitting on top, but it apparently was here around 1 o'clock was when they said that they saw it in this area. Now I'm just checking around. I don't see any little leopard on top of that mound, that's for sure. Now down in the bottom here is very dense, very thick, and it's not an area that's very easy to negotiate with a car. Also, we know that this little leopard cub is a little bit shy at sometimes, and I don't want to walk here and scare it just yet. So what I'm going to do is just do a little bit more of a drive around and just see if I can't find it somewhere in this section in front of us. It is a perfect place for a leopard cub to hide out, and we know Shadow often leaves her cubs in this area. So I'm just going to try and sort of sneak around a little bit and see. There's also a road that kind of cuts through, and we'll just follow that and try and negotiate that area and see if there isn't any sign down there. But I would imagine that it got quite warm on top of this mound, and this little cub then went down and into this thicket to hide. So Jeff, the mothers will typically have, on average here in the Sabi Sands, 2, but they can have as many as 3. There has been reported cases up in Kenya and East Africa of 4, although I don't think there has been any of that here in South Africa. I haven't heard of anyone finding 4 leopards in cubs in South Africa. 3 is quite common actually, so I have seen 3 a few times, but never 4. In East Africa it has been recorded 4, but the average is 2, and you'll find with younger females in their first litter, it's normally just the one that they have, and sometimes when they get a little bit older they actually start to have less cubs as well. Where are you, little one? Come on. Hopefully this little one is just here somewhere. But you can see, look how long this grass is. Now for a little leopard cub, this cub is going to be able to hide out so easily in grass like this. So we're just trying to sort of edge our way forward and not try and scare it in any way. And you can see it's just perfect place for a cub to spend time by itself while its mother is off hunting. So we're going to have our work cut out here. Now that it's not on top of the mound, it's definitely going to be really tough to find this little one. But we certainly will try, won't we, Seb? I wonder if it's not worth going back to Triple M and just checking that this little one hasn't crossed out of here. The problem is this area is, like I say, full of little landmines and lots of aardvark burrows and dips and places where you can get stuck quite quickly. So we don't want to get stuck in here. And like I also don't really want to chase this little one in any way whatsoever. So I'm just trying to go as carefully as possible and not on any thickets and not try and crash around too much through this area. But it's amazing, sometimes you'll find with these little leopards is that they're actually right here and they're just watching you, and as soon as you stop to see them, that's when they'll try and sort of scuttle away. But otherwise they try and hold their nerve, and in a way that they realize that if they just sit tight and they don't move too much, their camouflage alone is enough to be able to... Oh, sorry, Rusty, behave yourself. Now we're in Rusty, and obviously Byron had a slight issue with Rusty this morning, so we're just trying to also take it a little bit easy with Rusty and not get Rusty into a situation where we damage Rusty's wheels again, or it's... No, nothing that I can see. It doesn't look like anything in this area. I think we're going to have to just check the roads around and just make sure that this little one hasn't actually left this area. But it's definitely, this was the area that it was seen, and like I say, it was about 2 hours ago. So from there, this little leopard cub could have moved anywhere. Shadow could have come back and moved it. I don't see anything. Seb, you see anything?
Yeah, earlier on, but I didn't say anything.
You saw it earlier, but you didn't say anything. I see how you're playing this game.
You
didn't realize I wanted to see a leopard? Okay. Well, if you can just point out where you saw it now, because now I want to see one now. Nothing under there. Alright, I'm gonna just quickly check the roads around here and make sure that this little one hasn't crossed out of our area and that we're just searching in the wrong place. While I do that, let's go back to Ali, who's also being puzzled and dazed by the spots that is a leopard.
The spots that are a leopard indeed can give a lot of trouble, Tristan, but I can't believe you ditched me like that. That is a bit rude, isn't it? No, but I'm sure he wants to see this tiny little cub as much as we all want to, so hopefully he'll come right. Seems like I have chosen the wrong way out. I'm pretty sure it's a bit more open that way, where the tracks are going. And there's nothing around this area, so we've checked somewhat in the vicinity, but we can't see anything that would indicate that there's a leopard nearby. So we're gonna try the road again. Apparently there were some more tracks that were found there, so we're just gonna go where it's a bit less thick and try and have a look around there and see if there's anything we can find. Hopefully there will be some elephants somewhere along the way. I would definitely like to see some elephants. Just as we managed to get ourselves out of here. No, I don't exactly remember how we got ourselves in here in the first place. Jamie, you're wondering how hot it is here. So it is 28 today degrees Celsius, and I think that's about 80 something Fahrenheit, 89. 83, sorry, 28 and 83. Thank you, Max, for helping me out. Whew. All right, so yeah, it's very hot today. It is a bit unusual that it's this hot. We've been loving the very, very hot winter days, because normally in the mornings it'll go down to maybe 10, 13. So we suffer a little in the mornings, especially when we go down dips or close to riverbeds and so on, because then it becomes a bit trickier for all of us. But today, wonderful day. I've also, like I was saying at the beginning, I regret not wearing shorts. Michelle, you're wondering how large the territory we're navigating today is. Well, if we were to do it all, it would be about 1,000 hectares. So yeah, roughly just over 1,200, sort of around that particular area, just here in the Sabi Sand. But the wonderful thing about what we're doing now is that we are bringing to you two very large areas. So there's us here in the Sabi Sand, and then there's the guys up in the Mara that also have a very large area where they can drive upon. So we like to say that we've got it all covered. Hopefully, as the years go by, then we'll be able to gain a broader area and we'll be able to say that we can drive on all of the African territory. Although I think that is a bit of a dream. But why not, hey? Technology seems to be helping us. Amanda, you're wondering how the weather in this region impacts the animals. Well, I think maybe this is a good example. Let me just show you this dried mud wallow here. So, over here, it's the weather pattern in South Africa, it's quite unique and it's quite different from what we get in the northern hemisphere. So we are in our winter season now, which is normally from, I would say, beginning of May until around about October, and it doesn't rain at this time of the year. So you'll see here everything around this particular tree, and well, this is a bit of a dramatic example because there's not too much grass around it, but there's a dry mud wallow in the middle. So at this time of the year, all of the natural water sources, they start drying out a little bit. There are some others that are perennial, so you'll have them all throughout the year, but we are going to start seeing things like this more often as the months go by. So there won't be water in some of them, and the animals will be forced to perhaps walk bigger or longer distances to be able to find enough water and food to sustain themselves. Now, it only lasts for a few months, and then back again when we go into the summer season, then all of these pans, as the first rains come, they're going to start filling up almost immediately, and there's going to be such a change in vegetation. Everything's going to be lush and green and thick and beautiful, and the animals sometimes are even harder to find during the summertime because everything around us is so much thicker and they don't have to move as far for water and food. And sometimes here we get lucky because they start concentrating in specific areas where there's water. So sometimes it's a bit easier for us to find them during the dry season, just because for a lot of animals that are depending on water, you know that if you go to a water hole at a certain time of the day on a very hot day like today, you have maybe a bit of a better chance of actually finding a specific animal. But this is pretty much what's been happening. All of these little petals were all full and now they've dried out. Whew. We're going to carry on trying to see if we can find some more leopard tracks, but in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and see how he's faring with the search for the smaller spots.
Well, so far no sign that we can find. I'm pretty sure this leopard is right here somewhere, just lying in one of these thickets, and now it's just a matter of time to find it. The gentleman that saw it was from one of the lodges to the north in Buffelshoek, and he said it was very relaxed, which is interesting because we know Shadow's cub sometimes a little bit nervous, so I'm quite surprised by that. But what I'm going to do is I also just have a sneaky feeling that given that it's a young leopard, you never know, it might go and investigate where the lions had that zebra kill yesterday, because it's really not far. It's probably, I would say, about 400 meters from that termite mound. So I'm just coming around now to see if it didn't come in this way and move around this side. If not, then we know it's lying somewhere in that thicket, and it's just a matter of time of us just slowly negotiating through to find where it actually is. So, Jamie, you're wondering why the leopards like termite mounds so much. Well, the reason for it is twofold. One is that it gets them up and into the breeze, so if there's a little wind that's blowing, it can sometimes be actually a little bit cooler up on a mound where the wind's hitting them, and they can enjoy that, especially if it's quite shady like little Tumba had this morning. But the primary reason for it is that it is a vantage point. They can see really well from up there. They can see everything that's going on around them, whether there is a threat, if there's prey items that they they can go after. So there's a number of different things that they can see from up there, and that's why they use it. It's just a height advantage. It's the same as going up into a tree. You'll see that lion, cheetah, they also go up onto these fallen over trees from time to time, and termite mounds, to be able to use them as a vantage point to try and see what's going on. So it's just more a height thing than anything else. Now we've got some impalas here that look very relaxed. They don't look as though they're too worried about what's going on. Let's just see. I don't see any tracks coming out though, which is good news. It means that hopefully this leopard is just inside here, and I'm just going to have to try my very best to find it. And there's our bachelor herd of impalas, which is quite nice. They're in these sort of structures at the moment. As we're coming out of the rut, you're finding that male impalas are spending a lot of time together because they would have been chased out by competitors. And so they form these loose bachelor groups just so that they can have more eyes and ears together and for safety in numbers, particularly when you've got things like leopard and lions around. The more eyes and ears you've got, the better it is for you. And so these guys spend all their time together to be able to watch what's going on. And you'll find different males will come and go from this herd all the time. It's not quite as static as a female herd would be with males in it. So Andy, you want to know if we do any rehabilitation when it concerns injured animals, and are there any vets in this area that help to fix any of the animals that could potentially be injured? Well, Andy, it depends on what the injury is. So if it is a natural injury, let's say lions tried to get after one of these impalas and they ended up maiming that impala's leg and injuring it so badly that it was battling to walk, then no, we wouldn't get involved at all. We wouldn't rehabilitate, we wouldn't do anything like that, because ultimately, had we not been here, that impala still would have been hurt by the lions, and it might survive, or if it does die, it's going to provide food for a multitude of other animals, as well as return nutrients to the soil. And it's almost nature's way of getting rid of certain bloodlines that aren't quite strong enough to evade predation and to be able to feed or survive during harsher times. And you'll find those that get killed are generally a little bit slower or a little bit weaker, and so those bloodlines get weaned out of this area. But if it's an injury that is caused by man in some way, so a bullet wound, a piece of wire wrapped around a leg or something like that, then most certainly we would get involved. We will try and get somebody in to try and have a look and make sure that that animal gets sorted out and fixed. Then there's the case of sort of contracting diseases from domestic animals. So we know with Sindile, who was a little male leopard we had in this area, in fact it was also Shadow's cub, he ate a rabid dog, and unfortunately for him had to then go to get treatment so that he wasn't rabid anymore, and he was taken away and treated off site because of the amount of injections that he needed. And then from there he was then brought back into the Sabi sands and re-released, and he is now roaming around the Sabi sands completely free of the rabies and doing very well indeed. He hasn't been seen very much because unfortunately the process of treating him was very invasive, and therefore unfortunately he became a little bit more nervous of vehicles than he was as a younger leopard. Now I've got a little spider on my dashboard here, and I'm going to try and see if I can't show it to you. Seb, I'm going to try and see. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. This is minute. It's a little jumping spider, but there we go. See him on this. There we go. So you can see it just here, Seb. I'm going to try and put my finger. Oh no, it's just jumped onto my finger. See it? Look at how tiny that spider is. It is a tiny, 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 tiny jumping spider. Hey, little guy. What you doing? Yeah. Do you see how he jumped? It's like a bush baby. So they've got these hydraulic legs that they're able to jump. And you can see this is a piece of grass. And look at the size and the diameter of the grass in relation to our tiny little jumping spider. Isn't that cool? There we go. And you're going now up to... No, we don't want you on that hand. Come on, go back on the dashboard. Oh. No, we're in a suicidal dive at this stage, but you can see how they work in terms of being able to spin a web. So what this little spider did was just release a long line of silk, and the wind itself blew the spider completely away, and it will then go to another place where it can attach an anchor line, and then it can start doing its web back and forth across. So wind is a huge agent in helping a spider to spin a web. Isn't that cool? That was very cool. I'm quite happy that we saw that little guy. It was tiny. Hopefully he didn't inject me with any venom. I didn't feel anything, but I wouldn't really want to be bitten by a spider right now. Alright. Well, as much as our impalas are very nice and I like to spend time with them, I think let's carry on and try and see if we can't find this little leopard cub while it's still hot, because I'm hoping that it's gonna just have found somewhere to lie down and rest rather than move around too much. And so hopefully it's going to be somewhere in this thicket on our left hand side. I just want to quickly check up here towards where that zebra carcass was, in case this leopard has decided to come and investigate what this dead smell is and see if there is anything here, which would be quite interesting if it did, because a young leopard shouldn't really be investigating carcasses. But well, let's go and have a look anyway. And while we do that, I believe Ali is still on the search for those naughty Tundi and Tumba and is still scratching her head at this stage as to where they've gone.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make me scratch my head quite a bit. It seems like they have gone back to where they were this morning, and then they go into one of those wonderful thickets that we can't really see. So I'm just trying to check some of the roads not too far from, or the opposite one, just to see if perhaps there are any tracks coming out here. Madison, you're wondering where leopards find water. Well, pretty much the same places that all of the other animals do. So they'll either go onto the dry riverbeds at this time of the year, where the elephants have been digging for water, to see if perhaps there's still a bit of an overflow. But if not, there are lodge pans and artificial dams that are kept with water all year round, so they know where to find them and they go there for them. And if there's a lot of water, pretty much any puddle will do to satisfy their thirst. And well, of course, if there are any big rivers around in any area, which sadly we don't have around here, that's where they'll go. So the area where we are, the nearest water hole, is still a bit further away. Jen, you're wondering how we recognize each individual, because they all seem to have names. Well, with leopards, and lions to an extent, I find lions are sometimes a bit harder to identify individuals than leopards. But every leopard is a unique individual, the same as a zebra. Every spot pattern is different. So when you're trying to get to know an animal, you normally look at the spots on the sides of the nose, and then they'll have a different pattern. For example, they'll have, I think Tamba is 4 spots on the one side and then only 2 on the other side. So when you see that, you will know straight away that is him, because there will be no 2 leopards alike. If not, then a lot of researchers normally use the sides of the face, or pretty much the side profile, to be able to identify individuals. So because they are territorial animals, we are bound to see the same individuals coming in and out of the same areas. So just by being exposed to them as much as they are exposed to us, then it becomes slightly easier to eventually start recognizing them. I am new to some parts of the area, so I'm still learning a few of the individuals around here. Because the more you see them, well, the easier it becomes to remember everyone's pattern or what they look like. Because sometimes the more you look at them, it's almost like humans. If you look at 2 humans from a distance, they might look the same, but the minute you take a closer look, you'll see different things, different colored eyes, different hairstyles, different, like for example, a scar on the nose or that type of thing. So it becomes slightly easier with time, and the more you do it, the quicker you can identify them. But it seems like these 2 that everybody but me know so well. I think I'm gonna have to take a step back and just assume that they'll show themselves to me, or they'll reveal themselves whenever they feel like they're ready. Because the more I search for them, the more I seem to miss them. Let's see, I want to try one last water hole, which is an artificial water hole where she could have perhaps been heading onto to have a bit of a drink, and then see if I can find any tracks heading in that direction. Yeah. Alright, I just want to show you guys something quite interesting, just taking advantage of the fact that it is Animals Awareness Week. Perhaps if I go slightly backwards, it'll be a bit easier, huh? Oh, you find there. This thing over here that we find, so we were saying how leopards are territorials and some other creatures are also territorial, and we're able to identify them. Let me just jump down to make this easier. this over here, this big pile of stuff, this is all from my favorite creature that roams the African bush. This is old Rhino Dung. So this is called a rhino midden. It's another clever way that the rhinos use to pretty much advertise their territory, especially the territorial bulls. They'll come around and they'll be like, this is a way, the same way that a cat will go and mark and scent mark a tree. They come and they do it in a bit of a more obvious way. So often, and I'm sure you guys can see it over here, the males will come around and they defecate, and once they're done defecating, then they'll kick the dung, open it like this with their back legs, and then some of the scent is going to go into their feet, which is going to be good for them, because as they carry on walking, then they're going to carry on scent marking. But what's quite interesting is also, like, once they're done with this, you'll see that they drag their feet. So I don't know if you guys can see these two lines in front of me where the rhino has been dragging its feet all around like this. So obviously, the more the animal uses it, the bigger it gets. But what's quite interesting is then all of this becomes a massive communication system for all the rhinos around here. You'll see not only the big territorial male is going to come here and be like, you know, this is my dung, this is my pile, this is my territory, but the females are also going to start coming in here, especially if they are getting into the mating season. They'll come around and they'll, you know, just leave a message on the side and be like, oh, hello, well, I'm interested. So if the male comes around, then he is able to pick up all that information from all of the pheromones and hormones and everything else that's floating around in the air. But also, for example, if there's another bull that wants to come around and just challenge the territorial bull, but he hasn't been able to find it, then he will come and defecate pretty much in the middle of the midden, just to let him know that, oh, okay, well, I'm here, I'm ready for a challenge type of thing. So very, very important communication method for all of them. Let me just plug myself back in here, because it serves as a territory advertisement pretty much, but also it's a way for all of the different rhinos in an area to communicate and just let each other know what's happening, who's around, who's ready to mate, who's not ready to mate, who's ready for a fight, who's not ready for a fight, and so on. So you'll find them pretty scattered all around a male's territory, and then if you look closely enough, then you're able to tell if it's a white or a black rhino. So normally the white rhinos, we get two species in general, or we get two species in South Africa. The white one, which is called white not because it's of a white color, both of them are grayish. The white rhino is a grazer, so they'll just eat grass. So if you were to go and have a look and start opening the dung up, you will just see grass. But the black rhinos, then they browse, which means that they feed upon the leaves of the trees, and they have a bit of a triangular lip that stings like this, and then they use it to put the branches of the trees in their mouth. And you will be able to find little pieces of twigs and little branches inside of their dung that are normally cut at a 45-degree angle. So if you start, again, if you would want to start going through the dung, then you can tell if it's been a black or a white rhino that's been coming along to a specific mound. It's all really in the book. Alright, well, it's been a pleasure having everyone from the VB Digital Center with us. I'm going to say goodbye for the time being, but before I do that, let's go to Tristan and see if perhaps he gets lucky with the leopard search.
Well, our leopard search is, well, as thick as that is why we are struggling. It is an impenetrable fortress inside here, and it's no wonder that Shadow spends time here. It's typical to her name, teaching her cubs exactly where to hide and to be a shadow when it comes to being a leopard. So she's doing a fine job in showing the cub the right places to be. And so while I'm just trying my luck and slowly trying to negotiate my way through here, but it is almost impossible to get through. So really, really difficult. Now remember, you can get hold of us on #SafariLive. We just finished with a teachers conference, so all of our regular viewers, we will now be back to normal. And so #SafariLive on Twitter should you want to get hold of us or ask any questions. Now, as you can see, I'm just hoping for the best, but I can tell you now, if there is a leopard here, that is sitting somewhere here, it would have to be within about 2 meters, because otherwise we're not going to see it. It is that thick inside here that even in plain sight this leopard would be able to hide. And I know I've walked here with Brent and we've tracked shadow before, the two of us, a few times, even prior to the time when I was with Wild Earth, and I kind of just had a few off days, and Brent and I decided to spend some time together and see if we couldn't find any sign of shadow in here at one point. And it is very thick in here, and I know Brent has been charged by shadow inside here. It's not a place that you want to mess around too much inside, and definitely not a place to be trying to corner shadow and her cub. But I was trying to get to this point here because of this termite mound. It is so nice and sheltered here. It's very shady, and this would be a great place for a leopard cub to spend time. This is also where Sindile, the leopard we were talking about earlier that had the rabies situation, this is where he used to hang around a lot. But this particular termite mound, in fact, Brent used to show me, well, in fact, when we walked here, Brent showed me where he used to see him quite often, and that's why I know about this mound, and I've walked here myself. So just wanted to come and check just to see. You never know, sometimes you can be lucky, and if you don't take a chance, well, then you can't give yourself any sort of luck. So it was worth coming and just checking. I'm going to try and see if I can't keep following it on this southern side. So Shelley, you're wondering if it ever thins enough that we can off-road better. Well, Shelley, yes and no. So yes, in that it does thin out a little bit, which would mean hopefully we're not going to lose our antenna. This is not what it means, but which will mean that we can actually see better and you can get through without getting hit by about 40 million leaves. But in terms of the tree structure itself, even in a dry time, these trees are always going to be here. It's always going to be a difficult place to see, and you can actually see the destruction from where Brent has gone through here with the vehicle before. There's flattened quarries all from last year. You can see them all on the sides here, which does not surprise me at all. How he got here in the first place, I'm just following a route that he must have taken, but how he got in here I'm not quite sure. But it does thin out in that you can see a little bit more, but in terms of the actual tree structure, it is here. And the problem is with the drought that we had last year is that there was so little food that the elephants absolutely obliterated some of these places, and they pushed down trees everywhere. And so when they push down trees, it means that you're left with a situation where even if it's open, there's lots of stumps lying down, and that's more damaging than, say, driving over what I just did. This tree is going to pop up back when I go over it. It'll pop up behind me, whereas with a stump that takes out the front of your car, and it is not really as pleasant. So it's actually doesn't really get any thinner, no, to answer your question. It just is varying degrees of thick, that's all. We just can see a little bit better when it is a bit thinner. Now, just going to try and negotiate that. Right, now that I've negotiated that, let's go back across to Ali and see how she's doing, and hopefully she's going to get lucky with these leopards. I'm sure they must be somewhere close by, and I'm sure she will get lucky. It's just going to have to persevere for a little bit longer.
Well, I think we have, for the time being, left the area where the leopards were, because there are quite a few people looking for them in the same area. So they are in areas where there are too many people around. So a lot of people driving up and down the same roads just make no sense, and there were people that were a bit closer by. So I think I'm just gonna let them handle it rather than become a bit of a problem, because we went and checked where they were last seen and they were not there, and now other people started checking the other side. So I'm sure if they do find them, they're going to keep us posted, but like I said, too many people in the same area is not a good combination, because very likely what will happen is that somebody will drive over it. Sorry, I just want to listen to this. Managed to find a rather interesting tiny little striped animal, so let's go over to him and see how they're doing.
Well, indeed, this is so cool because this is not something that we see every day, and I'm super excited that we spotted it. One, because it's awesome, because you don't see it very often, and two, because Seb is highly allergic and we were about to hit that with the vehicle, which would have not gone well, and so I'm quite glad that Seb is actually alive and with us and we haven't irritated a whole hive of bees. And so these bees are building their hive on the base of this quarry, and it's probably because of how thick it is in here. There's very little disturbance in this area, so these bees can go about their business without being disturbed at all, and they can manufacture their hive, from the branch itself and come down. But look at that, isn't that cool? Now, we don't get to see this every day at all. These bees are the most insane animals, and the fact of the matter is bees are actually becoming rarer and rarer and rarer, which is a huge problem for us in the world. Ultimately, all of us across the world need to be very concerned at the fact that the bee numbers are declining, because bees are responsible for massive amounts of pollination of huge portions of our food, and they reckon that if bees go extinct, pretty much humans will go extinct too, because the pollination of many plants will stop and we'll be in dire straits then. So it really is cool to see hives like this, and hopefully these kind of things will last longer. And now, what we do know is that a hive like this would be attracting all kinds of animals that would want to feed off this, particularly a honey badger. And you'll find that there's a bird out here called a honey guide, and the honey guides will often try and guide you to the hive itself in hope that you will try and get into it and then be able to break it open for them to get some food. Now, I'm going to try and get a picture of a honey guide quickly so that we can all see what that is. And then the honey badger will actually follow the honey guides from time to time to find these bees. So, Umka, you're wondering if these are killer bees. Well, Brian, no, they're not them, but I'm joking. So earlier, Brent and Brian, who is a cameraman, used to call themselves the killer bees, so we're just joking around a little bit, but they are not killer bees. These are African bees, and so the killer bee tag came from the fact that there was African bees sent over to the South Americas, and those bees themselves were very, very aggressive, and they used to sting in mass hives like this, so lots of stings together, which was enough to kill people. A single bee on its own is not going to kill you unless you are highly allergic to it, and so that's where that comes from. But these are African bees, yes. These are the very same ones that are referred to as killer bees in other parts of the world. Now, the honey guides that I was talking about are these guys. So they're really cool birds, and we actually do see them here. We see this greater honey guide probably the most out of all of them, and it's got a very cool call that sounds like he's saying Victor. So it goes something like that. That wasn't very good, but something along those lines. So we see that guy, and then we will also see this lesser honey guide over here, which is the one on the right hand side. So both greater and lesser honey guides, and both of them will then try and, as the name suggests, guide to honey to be able to then find the food, that and hope that either us as humans or the honey badger will break that open and leave some food for these guys to eat it. Very cool though. Wow, that's a special sighting. That's not something we're going to see every day, and like I say, I'm super glad that I didn't actually kill Seb in the process.
Me too.
So, Bill, you're wondering if it's a swarm or a permanent home. Difficult to say. It is a very large clump of bees, is all I can tell you, and I'm not really going to go bash it about to see if there's any structure underneath that would be the permanent home for these bees, but it looks like it could be. Just the way that they're around it looks like it could be an actual hive, and so I would imagine that is the case. It's difficult to say for sure because it's so encased in bees. I can't see what structure is underneath that and whether or not it's just a swarm that's clumped together in that area, but I would imagine that's a hive. There used to be another one around Shibamu that was most definitely a hive, and it looked exactly like that, so I would imagine it's the same thing. Right, Seb, let's get you far away from the bees because I really don't want you to get stung. Well spotted, Seb. Self-preservation at its best right there.
Just on time, hasn't it? Okay, got it.
Right, so we're going to try to get through. Seb's dodging branches and bees. It's a tough afternoon out here for you, Seb. You said you wanted epic, so, well, this is as epic as it gets. Fraught with danger and all kinds of other things. And so while we try and negotiate branches filled with spikes and bees filled with stings, let's go back to Ali and see if she's got anything filled with claws.
Well, we've got a beautiful road ahead of us, and we are still checking for any other creatures around. Seems like Tandy's last tracks head roughly in a northerly direction, so, or the last ones that they had of her, always following the Malawati and just, you know, just moving in. She keeps going back and forth. So I think maybe she's also just trying to be very careful. She is coming further into a cherry tree that I have no doubt that she knows well from when she was a cub, but she doesn't know if there are any other leopards lurking around, maybe waiting to kick her and her cub out of the area. So I think she's probably just being a bit more elusive than usual, or just trying to maintain a certain distance, just to be careful, to protect her cub, and just, you know, just taking it easy, just seeing that there isn't anything to worry about. So I think the bigger fish of the afternoon, apparently the Birminghams, I think it was this morning actually, they managed to, or one of the Birmingham boys, they managed to bring down a buffalo somewhere on, I believe it's Buffalo's Hook. So I'm hoping that a lot of people are going to head in that direction, and maybe we can come back onto the area and have a bit of a look around in case we don't get lucky. But let's not despair. Hopefully we'll see anything and something around here. I am hoping for some elephants this afternoon because it's very nice and hot. So hopefully they'll come to a nice big waterhole, because I love it when the elephants start drinking. It's, I think, one of my favorite things, the way they get so excited and they run to the water, and then, you know, trunks go up and then down, and then they come down, and oh my goodness, something is equally rare, a wildebeest. The lonely bull underneath the tiniest shade he could find. Well, this is quite a surprise. I think maybe I've seen this one before, going down and drinking from the Vuyatela Dam once or twice before. But good to see you around here, mister. See, it's not unusual to find wildebeest on their own, particularly in this area. The males, they establish their territories and they pretty much sit and wait until the females come around into their territory, see if they're perhaps ready to mate, and then they'll mate with them. And if there are no females coming into a specific area for a certain time, then maybe they'll change or try to change their luck up and move somewhere else where they can find some more females, or hopefully some water. But I think this one's quite funny. He is in the tiniest bit of shade under that guari, feeding peacefully away. Like we said earlier, it's quite a hot day today, so I'm sure he's done this on purpose, and that's why he's down here. And well, we can barely see his head, so a good indication that he's actually feeding on the grass that's down there. I thought for a moment there he was also scratching his head, but no. I think perhaps, let's see if he'll be nice enough for us to go slightly forward, and maybe we'll be able to get a bit more of a clear view. I think, although his bum is always going to face us, so let's try our luck. Let's go slightly forward and see if perhaps we can have another view at this very unique and interesting looking creature. Ah, indeed. Hello, boy. So, there we go. This is a blue wildebeest, or the brindled gnu is also known as. And they call them gnu because of a very funny noise that they make. That it's almost like, nah, that sounds like they're saying gnu.
Can you make that noise?
I tried, but I think I'm really crappy at imitating noises. Can you make it?
Not too sure.
What? You can. I think maybe not, hey? Maybe we need to practice.
I thought he was in the car. He gave himself a fresh.
I don't know, I've heard you're very good with the zebra one, though. Ferg here has a reputation for being the only one who can imitate a zebra. But I think maybe we're not going to do this to this poor wildebeest, because maybe he'll get a bit of a fright. It's already hard enough being on his own. Looking in very good condition as it is, and I think he's maybe been in the mud today. Look at all those tiny bits of dry mud around his legs. So it could be that he spent a good part of the day just lying down in the water to try and cool himself down. They'll do it a lot more often in summer. This time of the year, clearly because it's a bit drier and it's cooler, then they don't have to do it as often. you're hiding. Sorry guys, I was just paying attention to what's happening with the last tracks, Tandy and Tamba, but we're not too far from that area, so we're gonna slowly start making our way around there and see if perhaps we can give the guides a hand, because I think maybe, because you see she's been moving up and down, and she's been going up the Malawati, and then she's gone onto the road, and then she's gone back onto the Malawati, and then she's crossed back down, and then she's come back again. So I think she's playing games with all of us. But let's see. Whew. Bye-bye, Mr. Wildebeest. Thank you for being there. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of them, especially once they do that great spectacle. That spectacle of the Great Migration. But I believe that Tristan has something quite interesting he wants to show you, so let's go over to him and see how surprised we're gonna be. I am completely sorry, Megs. I made all that story in my mind. So sorry guys, that's all on me. Tristan is actually out of his vehicle looking for something very interesting, and I thought he had found it. So he is quite a good tracker, so I'm sure he'll be able, if he does find anything, then we can just do all of this again and pretend it didn't happen. So sorry about that. I think Megs has got a bit of a cold, so we're struggling a little bit to hear. Sorry Megs, we all love you, and we hope that you're gonna get better soon. I think Byron has been helping her. He's got lots of powerful medicine, so so we're all looking after you, don't worry. But thank you for putting up with me. Alright, I think maybe let's go back onto that area where those leopards were. It seems like maybe the guys do need a hand after all. It seems like they're going up and down, so why not? Let's try our luck. It's a beautiful afternoon. Maybe we will get lucky. I did find one of the lucky beans in my jacket the other day, and I've been holding on to it like a very precious gem. So hopefully that'll, I think maybe you should do like a little ritual of like rubbing it and wishing for leopard 3 times, and then maybe things will happen. But why not, hey? Okay, what's this here? Nothing to be worried about. Alright, I would like to see. I'm gonna start over from the first road where I should have actually started looking, rather than letting everybody else tell me where to go. But this is not the road where I want to go. I actually want to carry on the other road. Whoop. There we go. There we go. Beautiful tree though. Alright, let's see. Seems like we've had a lot of branches fallen here, I'm sure. There have been some ellies walking around in the last few days. Deepang Shu, you're wondering how long it takes to find a leopard. Well, it depends on the leopard. Sometimes it can take a few days, sometimes it'll take 2 minutes, sometimes it'll take a whole morning. Yesterday, for example, I spent about 3 hours looking for one and I didn't find it. So it varies. It's normally a lot easier if they've been walking down on the road, or if they cross in a very visible area of the road, because then you know, or you can sort of try and figure out where it is that they've been moving towards to. But if not, then it becomes a bit tricky, because you almost have to get into the mindset of being the leopard and where the leopard wants to go. And, and obviously because we're humans, sometimes that is not as easy. Being Tamba, and we checked all of the marula trees and all of the termite mounds, because that seems to be his thing, what he likes, or where he likes hanging in. But it seems like he wasn't there, so I think the mother definitely did come to fetch him and moved him around. So no termite mounds. Maybe he is sitting right now on top of another termite mound. Take care, you're wondering what plant do lucky beans come from? Well, the lucky beans are a creeper, and it's a beautiful, I don't have it on a book here, otherwise I would show it to you, but I can see if I can find the one bean that I have left, and I'll show you what it looks like. Now I've just got to look in my jacket's pockets very carefully, because I keep it here like a hidden treasure, because they normally bring me good luck. Oh my goodness, it's lost. Okay, well, like I was saying, the lucky bean is a creeper, so it's a beautiful plant that grows normally on the ground, and it attaches itself onto other plants to try and get higher and to get to the sunlight. So when it opens up, almost imagine like, you know, a star. So it'll have like a few points like this, and once it opens up, then it presents you with this beautiful black and red fruit that is actually highly toxic. So as a human, it's definitely not the one that you want to be eating, because then you could potentially die if you eat too much of it. I think maybe if I put it here, because it's a very small bean and it's the last one that I've got. So that is the lucky bean, the one that gets me through. Beautiful red and what? Black little bean. I think maybe if I move it around here, sorry, if I move it like that, then you can see the beautiful colors. But it's not the type of thing that you want to be eating. Again, you could potentially die if you eat too many of them. And in some local cultures, they actually believe that they bring bad luck. But everyone I've ever met always says that they bring good luck. So I found a creeper of this, I think maybe about a month ago, and I was super excited. So I took some beans for myself and Taylor, which is another one of my colleagues, and they seem to bring us very good luck. So I've been in the search for another one, and I'm gonna put this away because this is a very precious possession at the moment, and I'm going to see if Taylor still has it. Alright, it seems like one of our colleagues has managed to find a beautiful spotted cat, so why don't we go all the way to the tree where the leopard is sitting.
There we go, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm sorry it's taken us so long to talk to you. It is not the bottom of a leopard talking to you, but me, James Hendry. We'll give you a quick view of me just to show you that I am alive. There I am. And on camera today, making his world debut, world premiere, we have got Manu of Kenya itself. That is his thumb, ringed as it is. There is a leopard, a male leopard that Brent Leo Smith found yesterday. It killed a female warthog somewhere around here during the course of yesterday evening. And unfortunately, he is only showing us his bottom at this stage. We will try and drive around the tree. Well, I suppose we could probably do it. Well, give him a few seconds. He's been a little bit restless, so he has been moving around a bit. And I must just say to you that it is a long, long way from camp here. We are probably about, I don't know, 25 kilometers or so, which is a good sort of 15 miles away from camp, which on these roads and in the wilderness is quite a long time, you see. Anyway, he looks a little pale. He is quite a pale male leopard. I don't know who he is. I believe he does have a name, and I believe actually that one of the viewers told Brent his name yesterday. So whoever that was, if you'd like to tell me his name, that would be great. I don't know where his warthog is. I have scoured the boughs of this Balanites tree, but I have yet to find, I'm afraid, the warthog. Maybe he was very hungry and he devoured the entire thing. Now, Manu, just zoom out a little bit and let's go a little way around. There we go. Hello everyone. While we do this, just look at the sky. I know that you're largely used to the Mara being a very sunny place. Today it has been a little bit overcast, then we had some sun, and now there are little rains, clouds and storms all over the place. Currently the camp is experiencing quite a bad storm, I think, and that could be one of the reasons it's taken us so long to get here, at least to get a signal to you. This is going to be wonderful. We're going to get a great view of him shortly. We'll be able to get a spot pattern on the fellow. And because of the rain covers, I've got to just get a little bit further away so that you don't get the rain covers in your picture. This is going to be perfect. How's that, Manu? Can you get him there? A bit forward? You good? All right? Forward?
5 meters.
5 meters. Yeah. Sorry about the flap, everybody. That is just a rain flap that we're really struggling to sort of contain at the moment. It's very enthusiastic about its job, but there he is. I think let's try and brighten him up a bit. There we are. Hello. Hello. Let's find out who you are now. He is a very sort of, well, he looks like the colour of honeycomb, really. He's got very, very pale yellow eyes. Turn around, got a sort of extended two-spot pattern on this side. Oh, he's lovely. Ha! Isn't that great? Right, now we have a question coming through on the WhatsApp because the radios tend to make everything look like colour bars. Geeky Beth, hello Geeky Beth. You say, do leopards follow instinct or by truly learning what their mothers teach? Apparently there's very little teaching that goes on, and certainly if you've watched the sort of raising of cubs from an early age, so as we did with Shongile and Hosana in the Sabi Sands, you'll notice that they didn't require much help at all learning to kill. I think I've just spotted his warthog. I have. Way up in the top of the tree, and I think he might just try and go up there. It's going to cause some trouble for us in our picture. Okay, that is fantastic stuff. And then we've got, Loink, Tristan, Warthog crackles on your mic. Okay, we're going to go across to Tristan. We'll try and fix the sound here.
Well, hopefully James stops crackling and doesn't become snap and pop. Was it snap, crackle and pop? Was it from Rice Krispies? So that was their little slogan. So hopefully he can sort that out and doesn't become all of those other ones too. But as you can see, we've got a beautiful big family of warthogs. So there is a nice big female. She's got very large tusks for a girl. You can see those are protruding nicely, and well, the rest of her little piglets all around. And so this is right in the area where this unknown leopard was, or what we think is Shadow's cub, but no luck so far. So I was just spending some time with the warthogs and hope that a blur of spots was going to come flying out and trying to latch onto one of those piglets, but alas, no such luck for us at this stage. And well, we're still trying to search, but it is impossibly thick inside here. It really is impenetrable in places. And I was just saying to Seb that even if we find this leopard inside that thicket, there's no way we're going to be able to get a car there, and all we're going to do is just end up stressing that leopard out. So we think we're going to just carry on and maybe come back a little bit later with the spotlights, and we might get lucky that time of the day if this leopard decides to move out onto the road. And our warthogs seem to be probably making their way towards a termite mound where they're able to then spend the night, and maybe it's the same termite mound that this leopard was spotted on earlier, and she might still be lurking, knowing that these warthogs are going to come back. But if it is Shadow's cub, even Shadow's cub will not be able to take on any of these warthogs. It would be chased by that mother, and so the doubt is there that they would even try and hunt this. If it's another leopard, then most definitely, and Shadow herself most definitely, but other leopards not so much. Well, not other leopards, but Shadow's cub not so much. Right, onward and forward, Seb. Let's go see what else we can find, and while we do that, let's go see how Ali's leopard search is doing, and hopefully she's faring a little bit better than what we are and has at least found a track to work with.
I think Tristan and I are in the same situation now. We've both been sent off to find leopards that have been loving the termite mounds, but when we get there, the leopards are not there. I think, you know, these two girls, the two sisters, Tandy and Shadow, are playing games with us, but we don't care. We shall carry on trying and hopefully finding other things along the way. Unfortunately, I haven't found one track yet. So I want to check around an area, one of the roads where she could have potentially come out if she carried on walking in the direction where she was walking, because at least that'll give us a bit of an idea if we should check a bit more towards the east or more towards the west or more towards the northern section. I think leopard dynamics have been quite interesting in the last while we've had them here, because we've had so many of them come and just share, and they are all in some way distantly related to each other. So they're all sort of like trying to grab a piece of a territory and just moving around. So everyone's trying to make a new home, it seems, and they keep moving onto certain areas and they keep pushing further into the territories. And we even had Chitwa the other day, which is a new female leopard that normally not around this area. So who knows? It will be interesting to see how everything plays out in the next little while and see who decides to become more of a resident leopard close to the lodge and who decides not to do it and go somewhere else. Tree for them to be in, but clearly they're not there because they would be too close to the road. Alright, they're almost there. I want to try and see where they had these tracks, because once I manage to see that, then it's a bit easier. BF, you're asking if we think that the leopards make their prey scared. Do leopards ever feel scared? Sorry, that is your questions. Do leopards ever feel scared? I'm sure they do. They have to face other big predators around this area as well. There are lions and hyenas and other creatures around here, so they also don't want to... I want to see where these tracks are. They don't want to risk an injury or being attacked by them. So if you see them, or on the few occasions that I've seen the interaction between leopards and hyenas, leopards and lions, or leopards and wild dogs, normally the leopards just get a bit of a fright and they jump like a scared cat, and then they run away quite quickly. So, and obviously a mother will likely be very scared with her cubs if the cubs are in presence of lions or baboons even, or other unknown leopards. But I think for most part, what is here? I think for the most part, are there tracks coming out. Okay, so at least we've got something to work with now. Now, let me show you the tracks. These are the first tracks that Taxon managed to find, and he's marked them on the road. And it's an easy way for us then to know that these tracks have already been almost like accounted for. And that way we don't have to waste time. If we find these tracks again, we don't have to waste time looking at them again or trying to figure out where they've been going. So let me just do a quick recap of what's been happening around here. So this is clearly the way that they have marked it, as in like, we have seen the tracks, don't waste time looking at them again. But we are just to try and figure out, because it seems like everyone's left this general area. So we've got the typical 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back, 1, 2, 3, 4 toes here. So we've got one print here and the other one here, and they're roughly headed into that direction. Now there's a mud wallow there, and there are some dried mud wallows, and we were looking earlier in one of the drainage lines in the Molowati. So they have pretty much come from where they were this morning, where we first started looking for them in that area. Tandy clearly went back, fetched Tamba from the beautiful termite mound, and then they carried on coming through the bushes all the way over here, and then they crossed the road and went back into the Molowati. Now, we know that they crossed the Molowati and they went into one of the other roads over there. Now there's another track here. I just want to circle it so that we know as well. So we're going to go back down there, because it seems like everybody's decided to give up on them, and hopefully we will get lucky with some more tracks or something else around the road, and we'll be able to figure out in which directions they've headed onto. So I feel like now that we have seen the tracks, they are real creatures and we might stand a chance. So it'll give us a bit more of an idea. Deepang Shu, you're wondering what signs leopards give when they're annoyed. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a domestic cat, but they're very similar. So if they're feeling very grumpy or annoyed with anything, normally they'll put their ears down and very, very flat, and their face looks quite they look very sorry. I just got last station. Sorry, can you go again? Okay, copy. I thought you were somewhere else. Thank you. Okay, sorry. That was actually Tristan. So I'm not. I don't really want to talk to him. I think the last ones that Tax had were coming out of the Molawati onto Vulture's nest, and I'm not too sure if anyone followed up after that. I'm gonna head onto the Molawati now. Yeah, I've come down from Twin Dams and I couldn't see anything there. I don't know, maybe you want to come down Vulture's Nest or go around Nyala Road, see if they come out that way. Okay, copy. Alright, sorry guys. I don't know, I haven't seen the trucks coming out of the Molawati. I think that's what Tax said. Alright, sorry guys, just had to give a bit of an update regarding to what's been happening with the leopard tracks and everything else. So like I was saying earlier, and I'm sorry it's taken me so long to answer your question, they give normally the same size as a domestic cat when they're annoyed, but good things to look for is if they flatten their ears like this and they start looking at you looking very grumpy, because they do look grumpy, then you'll know that they're annoyed. But another good indication for both lions and leopards is that they'll start flicking their tail. Sounded like something was moving around here. I wonder if maybe the leopards are looking at me. And they start flicking their tail. So if they're lying down, they'll get up, and then you'll see that their tail starts swaying from side to side. So once they start doing that, then you know that they're really, really not happy. And then obviously there's a typical when they get all grinched up like this, and you know their legs look in this particular way, and it's almost like they're gonna come. So once they look like that, then you know that they are very, very unhappy. So it's best just to back away and leave them be. But they are normally quite well-mannered creatures, and they don't seem too bothered with whatever it is that happens all around us. I think maybe the tracks would have crossed a bit further up north. So we're going to head on and carry on looking around there, see if perhaps we can see where these tracks did come out. Because we drove around here earlier, and I couldn't pick up on anything. So let's see. Maybe second time is the charm. Let's see what there is. I would have assumed that they would have gone back onto this other drainage line around here, and judging by the size of these drainage lines, they are quite fearsome areas to walk into. Now, let's see if perhaps we can pick up on any tracks over here. Funny enough, we've had lots of baboon tracks today. Not that I'm looking at one today, I just looked at one that looked like it. And they were causing chaos all around the lodge, as they do. They are very clever creatures, and they have a bad habit of getting into the trash and trying to break everything open and just get into the last bit of the crumbles of cookies and food and anything else that they can find. I have a feeling that they might have gone this way, so let's see if maybe there's anything here. Not too sure. Just want to keep an eye out just in case there are any tracks here that I could be missing, as I would really like to see these leopards today. I wonder. It did sound as though they were looking at us earlier, didn't it, Ferg? Almost sounded like, you know, when they start moving their tails. It's just... I'm gonna try to get this branch of the road, and while I do that, let's go over to Tristan, who's in Gowrie, Maine, and hopefully he'll come and help us out, or he'll bump onto that beautiful shadow.
I would love to bump Shadow. Shadow, come to me. I am wishing you towards my area. Come on. Seb, have you wished Shadow?
Yes.
Yes. Have you got your Shadow cologne on? We've got to odor the shadow. It's all tongue-tied really. It's going pear-shaped completely right now. But no sign of any of these cats at this stage, so I think I'm going to just try and go and spend some time around the water holes and just see if I can't find anything else in the meantime, and then come back a little bit later in the evening with the spotlights and just see if I can't pick up some eyes somewhere in that thicket, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get lucky. It really is not the easiest place to look for a leopard at all. There's so many places that a leopard could be hiding, and I have no doubt that that leopard is right there somewhere, and we're probably just driving circles around it. But if it's not in that thicket, the grass is so long there. I was walking to try and find tracks, and it was almost waist high, and it's this perfect grass that if that leopard's lying down flat, there is little to no chance that you're going to see that leopard unless you are right on top of it, and in which case we're going to end up pushing that leopard into a thicket anyway. So it's not the best place, and so a cover of night might be a little bit better, just to try and see if, or even late in the afternoon, if there's any sign, or if Shadow herself decides to show up there and to come and call the cub out for us. So that's our plan for later. Hopefully it will be one that works. Whether or not it is remains to be seen, I think. But now I'm going to just go and check around. Like I say, water holes is going to be the key. Going to go see if I can't find some ellies, because I'm still desperate for my elephants, and there's really no sign of them. I haven't found any fresh tracks. I haven't seen any signs of a herd of elephants for a few days now. And I was just laughing with Seb at the fact that I've jumped back in Rusty, and you can tell Rusty went to the workshop today. And Seb kind of looked at me and asked me why I say that. Well, because my hands look as though they've been fixing Rusty themselves. That is what Rusty's steering wheel is looking like at the moment. So you can always tell when Rusty goes to the mechanic, because the steering wheel gets touched with grease, and then you drive the car afterwards and your hands look as though they've never been washed. So I'm slowly but surely turning a different shade as I drive Rusty, and we can thank Byron for the dirty hands. Not only did we have a stained dashboard from Byron this morning with coffee, but we now have stained hands too. Thanks, Byron. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, it's not Byron's fault, and certainly I should have wiped the steering wheel down, which I will do just now when I get a bit of a chance. But while we were off-roading, I thought, well, there's no real point in doing it then, so we'll do it just now again. Of course, Byron's enjoying a nice siesta. His feet are up. He's on his reclining chair. Pretty sure he's got an apple juice in hand, and he's really quite smitten with life, I would imagine. He was quite bouncy this morning after he had the morning off, found a leopard, and then decided to relax. Seb, was it a nice morning just relaxing in the Mulawati drainage?
Oh yes, for sure.
Very nice. Having coffee, a little chat with Byron, and you can be sure that there was a lot of chat, actually, not a little chat if Byron was involved, and plenty of laughs, I'm sure, as well. Because Byron certainly is a man that you want in a situation like that, because not shy of one or two corny jokes, that's for sure. Now, I was just checking the quarry, because we know little Shongile and Hosana like to join the quarry, and I see we've got a passenger by checking the quarry. You can see I'm now adorning a tail on the opposite end. I almost look like a warthog, except that it is on my front right. So there we go, that is my little warthog tail, and hopefully this will attract leopards. Maybe if we drive around like this, they might mistake us and come bounding after us, and we'll find a leopard attaching itself to the front of the car. But we can only try. Seb, what do you think? So we're going to leave that there for good luck. This is the good luck stick. Stick, don't fall off. You need to stay there and change our fortune for this afternoon. I'm pretty sure it's not going to stay there, though. It doesn't look as though it's very sturdy at all. Right, now I've got to negotiate this section, because this is an aerial killer, this road. It's got lots of fallen over trees and branches, and this is all because of the elephants, and so it pounds our aerials and causes a little bit of an issue. Did we get right? Well done. Look at that. It's because my hand's all dirty. I've got good grip on the steering wheel, Seb. Now I can turn it very well. No tracks of any leopard here. Here, kitty, 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 come on. Oh, there's a carnivore, but not the one we're looking for, but a carnivore nonetheless. So straight in front of us is our smallest carnivore, and definitely probably our cheekiest and naughtiest little one. They tend to run around all over the place and always look like they're up to no good. They remind me of a child that's had too much sugar and is now on hyper mode, and seems to have found something under the grass. Hey little guy. So for those of you who don't know what these are called dwarf mongoose, and as I was saying now, they are a carnivore, and they are our smallest carnivore that we get here in South Africa and in Africa in general actually. And they'll find them moving around in small groups together, so it won't just be the one, there'll be a small group together, and they'll take on all kinds of different prey items. So they'll go after scorpions and snakes and beetles and grubs and all kinds of interesting and weird and wonderful little critters, and they dispatch them with sharp teeth and the cohesive unit of a grouping. So even though they're small, they can actually tackle quite large prey items by using one another as a way of sort of overpowering bigger, nastier things like snakes. Now, if you sit long enough with dwarf mongoose, they can actually sometimes get quite relaxed with you, and soon find them all bouncing around and coming out into the road, and sometimes you'll see some wrestling going on and playing, and they have a real good time, dwarf mongoose. It always seems like no matter what they're doing, they're enjoying themselves. So whether it's just sitting on the road or absorbing some sunshine in the late afternoon or early morning, they always seem to do it with such relish and glee that it's quite infectious. When you spend time around them, you can't help but be happy after seeing them. So that was nice to see. Now, of course, Hasana, Shongile, Shadow's cub, all of them would probably like to eat these dwarf mongoose, and will practice on dwarf mongoose quite often. So even though they are a carnivore, when you're the smallest carnivore, unfortunately you're on the bottom of the food chain for everybody else, and so you get picked off as a prey item yourself. Right. Where do I have a feeling? I think we're going to find something. I just got to now zone our feelings and see what I think. But maybe Treehouse Dam or Twin Dams is going to be a place to go and search. And so while we go and check there, let's see how Ali's doing and see if she hasn't found any more traces of the two T's as they roam around the Mulawati.
The Mulawati is quite an interesting place. It seems to swallow everything up. Now, I just want to... I'm getting even more confused now, because now we've got lion tracks. So I just want to find out if anyone actually had them this morning, because the tracks seem to be from this morning. So we've got Tandy and Tamba that were walking around in the afternoon, and then some lions during the night. And I do remember something about a lion walking all the way east, but I don't know if this is the same one. Let me just find out. Tristan, Bradley, Tristan. Because now I've got a smaller track here. Huh. Let's see. They're all quite hard to see because the ground is getting a bit harder, but definitely some lion tracks from this morning. So I'm a bit puzzled by it all. Seems like all of the cats have been out and about. Tristan, Bradley, Tristan. Did anyone see this Angala and Konzo heading east on Nyala Road South this morning? Maybe not. Okay, thank you. Alright, seems like there's a firm for Ramadota. Alright, so it does seem like they call these tracks in the morning, part of the big loop around that also the lions were doing this morning. So it seems like all of the cats have been moving out and about. I just want to make sure that in this process we don't actually miss any leopard tracks that could have come around this way. I think maybe what we're going to do is we're going to take one last chance and see if perhaps we do find anything coming out on the road, because I have a feeling they're probably in between two drainage lines. So there's a Mulawati where we saw them, and there's one to our right hand side, which is quite a... Is that... a leopard or is that a bush? I have a strong feeling that it's going to be a bush. I just want to grab his binoculars. No, it is a very spotty looking bush. Unfortunately, couldn't have been that easy, could it? Right there to the left. Yeah, that one. I see a leopard staring at us. But clearly not. Oh well, maybe something as big as Tingana. Right, so we shall carry on. Maybe if we do one last turn around of things, we'll get lucky. We'll try our luck up. We are looking for any possible tracks. And Ferg is very good at spotting things, so I'm sure if he sees anything, he'll let us know.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Of course I will let you know. I'll be very, very excited.
Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if Tristan and I are competitive when it comes to finding animals when we're out on drive together. I feel like I could answer this in a very polite way and say no, but the truth is that we definitely are, because we have always been very competitive, because when we first met we were both guiding at in the same ranging team, so it's always like, oh, I managed to find this animal and then I found this one and I found this one. So now it's just like, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he decided not to help us with Tandy and Tamba, because he was like, oh, I'm gonna go find Shadow, my own leopard. So so yes, we are quite competitive, I think, but it's a good competition. It's never a nasty one, and if I really needed help or if he really needed help, then we will definitely help each other. But I think that's likely for most rangers. I would pretty much have the same attitude or the same, it's almost like a friendly game type of thing with pretty much anyone else or any other ranger I know. Taylor and I were the same, and it's just because you take pride when you manage to track an animal down and find it. Okay, no, these are still the lion tracks. Got excited there, thought maybe it was a leopard. So I think it's the same for everyone. You just want to make sure that you're able to find it, and when you do, it's like, yes, brownie points for me. And you know, this competition that means nothing to anyone but you. So yes, we are quite competitive when it comes to pretty much anything, I would say. But it's good, keeps us on our toes and just looking for more things. Now, I would really like to find this leopard. No signs around here. Come, little girl. And also, I think I've only seen Tandy once before. Okay, let's go over to my number one competitor. Give to that question. Maybe he'll say the truth and say he's super competitive.
I'm actually quite offended by this. This is not fair at all. I feel like I'm being ambushed here because there's no right answer, because either way I'm going to end up on the couch tonight and be on my own. So, no, in all seriousness though, I'm not that competitive with her. Like, yes, we like to have really cool sightings and I always like to find things, and finding things, I suppose, is competitiveness, but in terms of having a nice sighting, I always want her to have good sightings too. So I'm not that competitive, and at the end of the day this afternoon I did say that she could go to Tandy and Tamba, and I stopped helping so that we didn't find it, because we know that Seb and I would have found it. Hey Seb?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure, definitely. So we've just stopped helping to give her an advantage, and now we've been slapped in the face with this sort of ungrateful attitude. But let's look at a pretty bird before I get myself into far too much trouble that is going to end up in me having to say sorry for the next 10 years. But on the